That's that lack mindset instead of the abundant mindset. When you have the abundant mindset, it's totally different because if you know that there's enough for everybody and more than, because
Yeah.
everybody's like, why do you teach? Aren't you afraid of competition? I'm like, no.
Because people aren't
First,
going to do it. Most of them aren't. All
well,
of
some
it.
aren't, but they're going to come to me anyway
Yeah,
and say,
they
hey,
are.
can you help me? And then I end up with a deal.
Exactly.
Like,
Yep.
I'm happy to help everybody
Yeah,
because especially I know they're doing it right.
Welcome to the Grind and Glow.
Real talk, real estate, real life.
I'm Kathy Garcia.
And I'm Megan Black. We're two unlikely friends turned business partners bringing you real, unfiltered conversations about the real estate world and the wild ride that comes with it.
From industry highs and lows to behind the scene moments you won't believe, we're here to keep it fun, relatable, and refreshingly real.
Expect laughs, lessons, and a little chaos along the way.
Because in real estate and life, things don't always go as planned.
Let's get real. Let's talk real estate. Let's dive in. Today, I am super excited for our guest. I've been following this lovely lady for several years ago. I've had the pleasure of taking some classes from her. Carly Mannino is here today, and she is the queen of investing here in the Raleigh-Durham area. She does a lot with creative financing, a lot with investors, and I am super excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. That's so sweet.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So before the show got started, we were kind of talking a little bit about you're doing a new online course.
Yes, I'm launching my new digital course. It's called Mannino's Money.
I like it.
So, and it's all about doing, creative finance subject to seller financing, novations, wraps, everything, and doing it properly, legally, morally, and ethically correct.
Yeah. No, and that was another thing we were talking about, just like doing things morally, because I think a lot of times, especially with creative financing, people get nervous that I know with me, for example, right? When I did wholesaling, the reason I stopped wholesaling is because I started feeling like I wasn't giving people all of their options. I felt like I was kind of taking from them, but I wasn't giving enough.
Right. I feel with wholesaling, there's a fine line because it's easy. Well, with all of this, it's easy to take advantage of someone if you don't have a moral ground.
Right.
And if you're not, my whole thing is to protect the seller. Like, you protect the seller, you provide services, you solve their problems, you deal with whatever they need to work with, and you make sure they're protected. And then you work with the buyer, and you want to make sure they have their best interest at heart as well. And then somewhere in between, you make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
But it can't be, I want to make money, and then, I need to go get a deal. No, that deal is a person.
Right.
And it's their life, and it's their livelihood, it's where they're going to live. It's a huge chunk of their funds, of their money. So you have to put them as the priority, that you're taking care of them. And that way, once you move through, then you can make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you do it right, you don't have to chase money. Money chases you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, again, we were talking before the show. You guys, if I could have recorded that portion, you guys should have heard it. But
It needs to be a bonus part.
a bonus, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I think for sure. Like, I think that a lot of people get hung up on trying to take a lot of money, make a lot of money, and making money is great. It's why we're all in real estate.
Everybody needs to make money. That's nobody's working for free for fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have fun, but
we have fun. We make it fun.
But seriously, I think like protecting people, protecting your clients, subject to. So can you kind of explain? Because I'm sure
I'm so lost. I'm an agent, obviously, but whenever I hear, like, when you used to talk about creative financing, I would just shut down, like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? It's so scary. But I love that you're here, because if an agent like myself, I don't know where to begin. So if you can maybe kind of take it back and just say, what is subject to, what is creative financing? What are the good things for the consumer? Maybe good thing for me to know as an agent. Kind of break it down, kindergarten style.
There you go. Well, creative finance is a wonderful tool that is done commonly in commercial. They don't even second guess it in commercial, but in my opinion, in residential, banks want you to use them. Yeah. If you do all this creative stuff, how are they going to make any money?
Right.
So everybody's been drilled, like, you have to use a real estate agent, you have to use a bank. Actually, you don't need to use either, but you do need to use an attorney, and you do need to do it properly.
Oh, yeah.
But a good real estate agent is good, and I'm always the first person when I talk to somebody, I'll tell them if they should use a real estate agent. I'm like, you make more money if you just work with an agent and list them. Like, I'm not afraid to say that, and I'll
Right.
tell
Yeah.
them if I think that's what's best for them. If they choose to still work with me, then I'm like, oh, I told you. I'll let you know.
honestly, I do the same thing. So one of the reasons, I started this career being an investor. And one of the reasons I got my license is because now I can lay out everybody's options, and I don't make them choose, or my job as an advisor, it's not to make your decisions, it's to give you your choices. So we were talking earlier, I have had several clients who call me who their houses need to be totally flipped, right? And
That's not really a really good agent house.
sometimes it's not, right? And so I walk in and I'm like, hey, like here are your options. You can leave it as is and sell it on the market. We can, wholesale it. I can sell it to an investor privately if you don't want to air your dirty laundry out. You don't want people seeing the house in the state that it is. We don't have to put it on the MLS. We can do it in a couple of different other ways. We can subject to it. We can, we can fix it up. And here's what it will cost to fix it up. And here's what we can expect once we flip it. So, like, I appreciate the fact that, and that's where those morals and ethics come into me, is I'm not making the decision, and I'm not lying to you. I'm not trying to trick you into doing something.
Or push you into making a decision. I want you to do what you feel fits your life, whatever's going to benefit you. You know better than I do. You know what I mean? I'll present you the options, and then let me know what you decide you want to do.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Like, we never be like, here, sign this paper. No. It's like, here, think about it, see what you want to do. And let's, if we choose to move forward together, great. If not, best wishes. Hope you do well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here to solve a problem. And that's why I love creative financing, because you can solve more problems.
You can. So, we help people with domestic violence issues, divorce issues. They just got a new job. They just bought a new house 3 months ago. Now they got a job transfer. They have to pay a real estate agent again. That's a lot of money out of your pocket again, back to back. Mental health issues, hoarding issues, tax issues. Taxes are going up, interest rates are affecting people. Now their mortgages are going up. And just repairs in general, like they've been there for 50 years, and now they're like, I can't afford to put a new roof or a new HVAC or because it's $15,000,
Right. And so it's not just $15,000; it's $15,000 for the roof, and $7,000 for the water heater, and $10,000 for the HVACs. It gets overwhelming for people.
It gets a lot, and especially when you're getting older in years. Some people just want to downsize. They're like, I've done with this. I want to go do it, or move to Florida, or whatever they want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some people want to move closer to family, and like you said, sometimes people's houses aren't in a condition that they want people to see. They're like, I'm not going to clean it up, fix it up for showings, or can't. Maybe they just can't.
Right.
It's easier to work with an investor that, like, we've seen things. So, so your house is probably fine because we've seen some things. Sometimes you're like, I've heard some stories about some things people hear.
Oh,
I
gosh.
won't even. Oh my God, terrible things.
I've
But,
walked in houses. I walked in one house one time when I was wholesaling, and I felt so bad for the owner because he didn't even live here. He lived in New York, and he was going to sell it. So he had just remodeled it 5 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I went in. The tenant she was a hoarder. She had torn down an entire wall, and the entire living room floor was missing. Like, it was just not there. And I was just like I was having to be careful where I stepped because it had a rug. It had like a carpet, but there was no floor under this carpet. It was, yeah.
Like, what do people do?
I did it in 5 years. Yeah. So with creative financing, you were kind of telling us.
So there's a few different forms of creative finance. Creative finance is just kind of a bubble that includes all the different forms. So when you do a subject to, I do a subject to with a wrap. That's my personal choice of things that I do. You're taking over the mortgage subject to you're buying the house, you're purchasing it, you're taking the deed, subject to the existing mortgage. So the mortgage is staying in the seller's name, but we're getting the deed. But we're making the payments, we're doing the insurance, we're doing the taxes, we're taking care of all that. Any repairs, we're getting the new tenant put in there, we're taking care of all that. The only thing that's different is we're leaving the mortgage in place. The benefit of that to us is, we're not coming out of pocket with a couple $100,000 to buy a house.
Right.
A really good benefit right now is we still get those old interest rates.
Okay. Oh, that's true.
I've told people, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm more interested in your interest rate than your house. I'll take the house, but it's that interest rate that
is a
I'd
good
like.
point.
Yeah.
And usually you can get into it with very little money. They might just need some moving money. Maybe they're behind in arrears, and we just bring them current. So coming out 0, 10, 20, 30,000 over 300,000, 400,000, we can do more of it. We can help more people. We can buy more houses that way. Seller financing is almost exactly the same. The difference is there's no mortgage. So they own the house free and clear. So now they're the bank. and we're just making them payments every month directly.
Okay.
And so,
And
then
is that for an infinity, or is it set time,
it
an agreed
depends.
upon time?
That is all up to negotiation, whatever they're
Okay.
comfortable with. For us, we prefer a 10-year minimum,
Okay.
just because we work with tenant buyers, and what that is somebody that we put in as a rental, but with the plan of them purchasing the home. So we would have some credit agencies we work with, and then we have them work with them, and hopefully in a year or two they're able to purchase the home. That's the goal, is to help the renters stop being renters and become homeowners.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we solve the seller's problem, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
and then we help these people out of being renters and they can own the home.
And how do most of your clients reach out to you? Are you pretty big online? Or how do you market yourself for
I
those?
started, interesting enough, I'm mostly referral based. I'm in
Okay.
And locally I'm in a lot of RIAs, the Real Estate Investors Associations.
Okay, yep.
I do a lot of networking, so I'm in a lot of events. So people know that I do this, and they bring me things like, oh, my grandma's da-da-da, or my uncle, whatever, you know.
I
And
see.
so I get a lot I have people, friends out of state, they're like, hey, I have this person, do you know where this town is in North Carolina? Can you
Yeah.
help them?
Oh,
I'm like, okay.
yeah.
So we do a lot of that, and then that's kind of how we spread out, because we've had people in Ohio and Pennsylvania, same situation, so we have properties there, South Carolina, Tennessee, so.
And do you have to be a realtor to do this? Do you have
No.
a license? No.
No, I do
Okay.
not have my license.
Okay,
I
good to
prefer
know.
not to, just because you have to go through the extra steps to do that. And this way, this gives me the freedom to be like, I'm not an agent.
Yes.
We're still going to fill out all these legal documents. We're still going to go to an attorney. They're still going to have to read it. Please get your own attorney. Feel free to read all these through.
Yeah.
Get a second opinion, whatever you need to do. And
Okay.
then the fun thing is, the fine line is, if they don't understand it, confused mind always says no. So you try to make it very clear to them. We're working with somebody right now. He's like, can you explain it to me one more time? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, it's like telephone. So if you'd like to get them on the phone, me telling them directly is going to be better than me telling you, telling them.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And so with subject to, can you explain how you protect the sellers?
So we do the wraps. A lot of people use wraps for financial benefit for themselves. That's not what we use it for. I don't believe that's what it was made for. It's
What is a
nice
wrap?
option. So a wrap is a financial instrument that basically was subject to, we're taking that subject to the existing mortgage. We wrap our new mortgage around that existing mortgage. That way, if someone should fail to make the payments for any reason, the sellers can get the property back.
Oh, okay. That
And they
makes
won't
sense.
have to foreclose.
They won't have to foreclose, no. And with, if they don't have that, basically they have a mortgage and no property. So they have no
Protection.
no protection.
I see.
So to me, in my opinion, it's very vital that you always wrap the mortgage for the protection of the seller. So
Yeah.
worst case, you've been paying down the house, it's going up in value, so they're getting it in a better place than they left it. It's
Yeah.
caught up. The arrears are current. So anything that's gone wrong, it's in a much better position. But we pray that never happens.
Yeah.
But we like to have it there for their protection, so they know it.
Yeah. And I talk to people all the time. I think that these situations, like I had a client maybe last year sometime, and they moved into a property. It was a gorgeous home in a horrible neighborhood.
Yeah.
And they literally had gun violence. Like, she's like, 2 people down the street have been robbed this past month, and they called me. They've been in the house for less than a year. And, again, I'm an agent, so everyone's going to make their money, but I made sure, I'm like, all right, we're going to try this subject too. We're going to try to make sure that you're protected and you're safe. But again, I've talked to you about coming to your class, because I definitely want to learn how to protect people, and not just protect my buyers. Like, great, that's fine, but protecting those sellers, because that is a huge portion. And I think that from my experience, when you're doing subject to, you have to be extremely careful of who the buyer is, because I have worked with some subject to buyers that through the entire situation, this particular home, for instance, once we got it under contract, I remember I told the sellers, I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this. Like, I've told you guys I don't feel comfortable with this buyer. I don't feel like this buyer he was a wholesaler, is what he was doing. He was wholesaling a subject to. But just...
I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan. I buy them from wholesalers all the time, because I feel like at least I know I'll take care of them.
Right.
But wholesaling subject to is very delicate, because you're the one that made the promise that you would make the payments.
Yep.
And so if you sell it to someone who doesn't, who's responsible at that point? You said you would do it. You sold it to someone else. So.
And you don't know those people. You're just offloading it. You don't. To me, that's where those morals and values come in. You're not being moral because you have no idea. When I sell subject to, when I try really hard, I only have a couple of people that I will call.
Mm-hmm.
You being one of them, and saying, hey, I got a client that needs to sell subject to. Can you help them? Because I know that I can be sure that the mortgage is going to be paid. Because again, worst case scenario, you guys, not you, but the buyer doesn't pay the mortgage, my seller's screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, how do you protect the seller then? Just how do you guys, I guess,
That's
with these
where the wrap
buyers,
is.
like how do you find these buyers, or
So with so there's the wrap that protects
Yeah.
the seller first, so he can just take the house back. For us, we do a thorough background check. We
Okay.
do criminal background check, regular background check, sex offender check. So we do all of that. And I will go through hundreds of people before I actually pick
isn't that
the
amazing?
person.
Wow.
And we always require a large down payment because the
Okay.
down payment will go towards the purchase price. But if they come in and like, oh, I have $1,000 or $5,000, I'm like, you can't get into an apartment with that. Like,
Yeah,
you want
much
to
less into a home.
like
Right.
you can't afford gas with that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
today, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we make sure that they have sufficient skin in the game that they're going to be like, I don't want to lose that because it's non-refundable, right?
Yeah.
If you don't exercise your option, you lose that money. So if you put $35,000 down, you're probably going to want to do it right.
You're going to want to perform.
And who are mostly these buyers? Where are they? The wholesalers? Are they?
No, these are
The
people
public?
like real estate agents that
Okay.
you know. Some people like to write off taxes.
Okay.
Can't quite bank qualify yet. You know,
Okay.
business owners. You know, people that maybe have moved to the area and the banks want to see 2 years of W-2s and they don't have that yet.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different people and a lot of usually
Okay.
more professional people is what you're
Interesting.
looking at.
Yeah, and subject to is a great option. I mean, so I did a subject to wrap with a client. He called me, got my number from one of the meetups, and he bought the home for ARV, which is after repair value. So he bought it at market value. Then he put $90,000 into it. Yeah, I know. And he calls me and he's like, hey, like, it's been on the market with another agent for like 130 days. It's not selling. Like, they're telling me that I'm overpriced. And so I looked at the home and I was like, well, you're overpriced.
Yeah.
And so I sat him down and I gave him his options. I'm like, this is what we can do. These are the risks associated with this. These are the rewards. And I ended up making him $25,000 because we did a subject to a wrap. We found an end buyer with some skin in the game who wanted the monthly payment at a certain price. Well, he wanted a nice house. He wanted his monthly payments to be lower than he could get it. He qualified for a conventional loan, but at that price point, his monthly payments weren't where they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, and I love this about creative financing, is there's little levers. And you get to pull a lever, and when one goes up, one comes down, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
You have purchase price, you have interest rate,
The monthly payment, the term.
monthly payments, term, length of loan. So there's so many different ways to be creative, which is why they call it creative financing.
Yeah, nothing's set in stone. Everything is maneuverable and negotiable.
Okay.
So we could just fine tune it to, oh, you want that? Okay, well, I want this. And then let's meet that in the middle somewhere.
Wow. How did you get into not wholesaling, to creative financing?
Well, in real estate in general, I had a Christmas light installation company because I love Christmas. I'm going on the Hallmark cruise again.
A Hallmark cruise? Hold on, we'll have to talk about that in a bit.
But I was doing them one year, and an older gentleman came up to me, and he's like, oh, can I work for you? And I was like, we go on 40-foot ladders. You probably don't want to do that. And he's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay. And he was up and down the ladders. I was like, okay, go, you go. And when we were done, he's like, I really like how you are with your employees and how you treat everyone, and everybody, respects you and everything. Would you want to work for me? And I'm like, well, you just asked me to work for Huh? What?
What do you mean?
And I don't even know what you do because I didn't know you had a job.
Oh my gosh.
You just,
I thought you was employed by me.
yeah. So basically, he was testing me, and I guess I did well. But he's like, he called it rehabbing because he'd been doing it since the 80s here in Raleigh.
Wow.
And he's like, I'll show you how. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
And so he took me around and started showing me how you could, like, visually judge things and, oh, yeah, see that needs fixed. Is this how you measure, when you're on the ground and it's up there, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. It was going really well. And then he had bought a piece of property in another country and built a new build there. And he liked that. So then he bought like 20 more plots of land.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm going to move there. I was like, I'm not moving there. I live here, So at that point, I knew enough to be dangerous, right? So I went to, at the time, it was TRIA, the Triangle Real Estate Investors Association. And they would bring different people in every month. And you get to learn all the different things. So we learned private money. We learned creative financing. And I kind of learned them in the perfect order. So I was like, this is really great. And then you had the people in that group that will help you, They have the attorneys. They lend the private money. They have the knowledge. So you work with these people. And I got my first deal done. And I was like, oh, this is great. I thought it was going to keep going like that. But it doesn't. You have to,
Keep the momentum.
keep it going. So it takes some time. But, it's eventually grown. And as I've gotten better, then I started seeing things I didn't really like. And that's why I started teaching.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's get this done right. If you're going to do it right.
Yeah.
So you started, you said, in 2016.
My first deal I did in December 2016, yeah.
How many deals are you currently doing?
Well, that's a weird question because I have multiple kinds of deals going. Plus, when the tenant buyers cash out, they buy the house. So,
True.
Which is good, so that's gone. So I probably have about 10 tenant buyers currently. But we're doing other work on commercial stuff. We're doing some student housing. We just bought some land in Rocky Mount. We're going to do some student housing. One of my students got that. So we're going to work with the college there.
Cool.
We're buying an RV park in Tennessee, which will be amazing. It was a creative finance deal. And another thing that we're doing, a group of us, we're working on reentry and rehabilitation housing for North Carolina, especially mostly for women that are able to get out on early release. They don't have any place to go. If there's no beds, then they have to stay.
Wow.
So we're going to be working on that. So that's a new endeavor. We just started a couple months ago. We're doing all the research and trying to get all the knowledge, do it correctly, right?
Right. Correctly is key.
Legally.
Yeah.
And make
So-
sure people are safe.
Yeah, and then, I have all my students and all their deals that they're working on. I think we got 3 this week that we're looking to put under contract
Yeah.
for different, one person's getting a job transfer. One person just wanted to move. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing I love, and me and Kathy are doers.
Yeah.
You're a doer. In 2016, you started, and this guy's like here, and like you said, you knew just enough to be dangerous. And that's honestly how I felt when I first got started in real estate investing. It's like, I know just enough to be dangerous. Yeah. But the fact that you've been able to build a career in a matter of 8 years, you've built a business based on experience first. You went in, you done it yourself, and now you're teaching. And I think that a lot of people get stuck in that mindset of scarcity and having that abundance mindset and learning that. I tell people, when you're at the top, you collaborate. When you're at the bottom, you compete.
Yeah, I
Right?
can see that.
And so with you, you've got multiple deals going through that you've been able to even build more because you're teaching, because you have your students, because you're not trying to gatekeep information, you're giving it up. You're saying, hey.
Yeah, another reason I started teaching was because everybody's like, you give so much information, you should charge for that.
It's true. Yeah.
They're like, you tell everybody everything, and you give them all this information, you don't even charge them. I was like, and then when I started charging, I got, you don't charge enough.
Oh my gosh.
You're still giving too much value. I'm like, well, I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'd rather give and make sure that people have what they need and get, grow the way they want to grow as long as they're doing it right.
Right, and teach people how to do it right. Because subject twos and creative financing, seller financing, they can be done wrong.
Very wrong.
Yeah, they can be done wrong. And it can really put people in really painful situations. And that is truly my biggest fear with subject twos myself. And literally, if I have a subject two come through my way again, I actually won't do it alone. I've told others, I'll give it to Carly. I'll make sure, because I know that there are a lot of laws, a lot of regulations, and I've done background. I've studied this stuff myself. But unless you truly have done it multiple times and fully know it, fully understand it, you can really put sellers in a painful situation.
Yes.
And typically they're already coming from a painful situation.
Yeah, they don't need you to make it worse.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't need you to make it worse. Now, seller financing, on the other hand, I love seller financing.
What's the difference between the two, would you say? Like, is
One
it
has a
two
mortgage,
completely?
and no, they're very similar. One has a mortgage and one does not. One's free and clear, and one has a mortgage through the bank.
Okay.
So think of it like this, okay?
Mhm.
So what's subject to the sellers have a mortgage,
Okay.
all right? And they're going to keep that mortgage. So in real estate, right, you have a note and you have a deed.
Mm-hmm.
The note is that's you're going to pay this money to the bank, and then the deed is you own this house,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what a subject to is you're going to keep the note in the seller's name, but the deed goes in the buyer's name,
Yeah.
all right? And so what happens is if, God forbid, that buyer doesn't pay and there's no protection, there's no wrap,
Mm-hmm.
then that seller gets foreclosed on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now the seller's credit's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now the seller is in a worse situation they were in because now they don't even own the house.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's something called the due on sell clause.
Mm-hmm.
Due on sell clause means that if you sell the property has to be, the mortgage has to be paid off.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways around that. There are these little bitty nuances. One of them is called, if I'm not mistaken, the Garden St. Germain Act.
Mm-hmm.
Garden St. Germain Act basically says if the property is in a trust, then and you sell it, then you don't have to. It's not due on sell anymore. Am I correct?
Well, what will happen is the bank will ask for that document, and it'll show, that the seller is the beneficiary of that trust, because everyone is allowed to put their home into a trust for retirement benefits.
Yeah.
You're allowed to set yourself up for proper retirement. So, so as long as that's the way that it's set up, then that's the way to protect it. So that's what they're looking for. The bank will say, well, let me see your document. We'll give the bank the trust and let them see, okay, you just put it in a trust. You're the beneficiary.
I
Okay.
see.
Right. Because if you don't do it like that, then what typically happens, and I've seen this happen before, as soon as the bank sees that the insurance has gotten switched over or something switched over, the bank.
The deed.
Yeah, exactly. Deed switched over, the bank's going to call you. Hey, did you sell this house? And now we have to, if you don't do it correctly to set it up, now you're backtracking. Because now it's like, oh crap, like we got to get all this situated and set up because, again, the mortgage isn't, if the deed is in a different name, the mortgage is still owned by you,
Right.
right?
Are you going to make a payment on a mortgage? You don't even have a house.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why the morals and the ethics come into place.
This is a law, which I'm glad you guys do this.
It gets quite simple once you do it. But when you
Yeah,
first hear it,
yeah.
it's a lot of like. Well,
It's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces and people's
lot of
money and
documents.
documentation. And
there's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a lot.
documents.
Yes. Which is why it's important to be safe
yeah.
And
Yeah.
use an attorney.
and use an attorney that knows
Who
what they're
I would
doing.
say who understands
Yes,
that process.
not all of them do it. So if you're talking
Okay.
to an attorney and they hesitate or they're like, or don't use that attorney.
Yeah.
Get someone who goes, yeah, we do. A couple, 10, 20, 30 of those or more a month.
Okay.
Yeah, we do those regular here. Okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
Because not all of them do it. So
Mm-hmm.
and the paperwork's important.
Well, for sure.
It's what protects you. Now, seller financing, on the other hand, seller financing is the most easy way to buy a house, in my opinion. Period. It's easier than going through a lender. It's just super simple. Now, the benefits, like for instance, I have a client right now who called me. She literally told me, she's like, we haven't made a payment on our apartment. We're probably going to be evicted in 30 days. We have $40,000. But my credit sucks.
where she live, I probably have a house.
Well, if you have a house, we literally just put an offer in on another one. But if you have one in the Creedmoor, Butner, like that, Oxford,
I just sold one up in Henderson.
dang. Well, if you get one, let me know. But
It was beautiful too. Less than 2 years old. It was beautiful.
wow, yes,
Most of our houses, for some reason, are new.
that's awesome.
So-
Yeah. So she called me and she's like, what can I do? So I sent her every seller financing opportunity I could find, and we made an offer on a house because seller financing, most of the time, they don't care as much about your credit because if you're seller financing to somebody, most likely it's because they have messed up credit and they can't get traditional financing. that's par for the course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we care less about their credit than the down payment. The down payment's basically their credit.
Exactly.
'Cause they
And
don't
for
wanna lose
down
that money.
payments, do you guys have a set dollar amount, and does it vary per home?
The more the better, but
Yeah. Yeah.
10% is kind of like our minimum.
Okay. Okay.
Like if you have less than 10%, it's probably not gonna happen.
Right.
So seller financing as the buyer, it would be somebody who maybe doesn't have the best credit score, but has the money on. That's a good buyer for you guys.
Or maybe they're here. Maybe they're not here on a legal status.
Okay.
That's another part. Yep.
Because if
Okay.
you're not here on a legal status, it's extremely difficult to get a loan.
Mhm.
And like I have a friend right now she's a DACA recipient. She's been here since she was 1,
Mhm.
right? Well, she can't purchase a home
Yeah.
unless she comes and talks to me and we go through seller financing and she saved up some money. So but it's very beneficial because otherwise these people are stuck.
And for a consumer who's looking to do seller financing, where are they looking? Or are they coming out to you guys, reaching out to people who do that?
Yeah, and you'll see them in the
Like
if you-
Facebook groups, that sort of thing. So they know to go there.
So, I don't
Gotcha.
know if they know specifically because they're rare. You don't find them every day. Not a lot of people will do them
Yeah.
because they're risky. For the seller as well as
Sure.
as the person. So, a lot of people want their money now.
Mhm.
They won't. But some people don't need cash right now, or they know the tax benefits of not getting it all right now. But not everybody is that financially savvy to understand. Like, if you don't get all your cash now, guess what? Somebody else is getting a good old chunk of it. Or if you get a little bit over time, you get to keep more of it.
Right, right. Yeah, seller financing. That's one of the things I talk to my clients about that own their houses free and clear all the time, because honestly, it is my retirement plan. My retirement plan is to seller finance all of my houses. It's you're getting. Well, I'll let you tell. What are the benefits for the seller for seller financing?
Well, there's so many. So when you do the seller financing, you're not getting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 so that they can tax all of it, and you get 50-60% of that maybe. You're getting this over time, so you're getting smaller amounts over time. So it's just basically passive income, which everybody wants, right? Everybody wants
course.
passive income. Just, I don't do anything. A big check comes through. Yay.
Right.
So that's the benefit that most people just like. They don't have to think about it. Plus, they don't have to do any of the repairs. They don't have to worry about, somebody calling them in the middle of the night, oh, the toilet's broke.
Yeah.
You bought it. It's yours.
Yeah.
I'm the bank now. You're
Oh,
just making
interesting.
payments. So the tax benefits are great for the seller. The work, they don't have to get a property management company. They don't have to worry about who's going to fix what,
Don't have to worry about a tenant.
Yeah.
They also, my favorite thing is they're making interest on their money.
Oh. that's
Where are
big.
you, like for instance, this one I'm getting seller finance. We offered 8% interest. Okay, are you making 8% on your bank savings?
Right, yeah.
No.
And we can have that.
I know.
If you're
Half of
lucky.
that.
Yeah, making like a fifth of that, a tenth of
Yeah.
that. So it's seller financing. Every single agent should know what seller financing is. Every single agent should offer it to anyone that is free and clear.
Well, I remember, I think it was Donna who's been receiving a lot of seller financing options for this, I would say not home, it's like a property, community.
It's a city. It's a little.
And she's just been very nervous when she did receive things. And so I could see that too, because if somebody says, I have a seller financing option, obviously I'm going to be like, Megan, help me. But I think, again, when you don't know about it, you just get very nervous about it. But then I think it's a missed opportunity for your client, especially if your home has been sitting on the market for a year plus.
Literally.
So I'm glad you're here talking about this, because, if I receive something, I don't want to be just scared. Like, I don't want to be closed-minded. Oh, this isn't going to work. This is creative financing. This is a seller financing. But it could be a beneficial, exchange for both parties.
Yeah.
It really is. It benefits both parties. And I didn't go to real estate school,
Yeah.
but I've heard other people say, oh, they're very frowned upon subject. Like, to stay away from it's bad. It's evil.
Yeah.
Well, the banks want you to think that. But the other thing is, just having agents that are open-minded.
Yeah.
Like we call Megan's a unicorn agent, because the unicorn agents see both sides, the investor side and the real estate agent side. And so they benefit that way, because I had a deal all set up, and we're almost set. And the guy's like, oh, I signed with my friend this morning. He's a real estate agent. He's like, just call him and tell him what we did. And I was like, all right, fine. I said, well, we already agreed we're going to do this, we'll pay you, And he goes, you're a scammer. I was like,
gosh.
dude, we were all set. He's like, I would never suggest this to my client. And I was like, you don't know, honey, sorry. You're going to learn, and you could make twice as much money as you're making now if you just open your mind.
Yes, and
That's
it's not
the goal.
Yeah, it's not fair to sellers.
It's not.
It's not fair to sellers that we don't understand what we're doing, which is why I want to teach people. It's why I'm having you here, because I've had agents, I've called agents and had these conversations like, hey, we could, if they own this outright and you sell or finance it, we could pay you what you're asking.
Yeah. You could pay a lot more if you
Right.
offer the financing.
Right, yeah.
Well, subject to and with seller financing.
Exactly. And that's the benefit. That's truly the benefit. So why would the seller do that? Why would the seller agree to
Right.
keep the mortgage in their name?
Because
Right.
time equals money. More time, more money.
Exactly.
If you give us time, you get more money.
Right. Right. And the subject too is the thing of it is like a lot of these, like she was saying earlier, a lot of these are clients who just bought the house a year ago or 4 months ago. And I mean, let's be honest, I'm an agent and I'm telling you, typically you can't afford, if you bought the house last year, most of the time you can't afford to pay me.
That's true.
Plus you're paying a buyer's agent to list the house on the market traditionally. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
then they're going to have to bring money to the table. Well, if I don't know about subject to, if I don't know how to help them, they're going to bring money to the table, and that's unfair to them.
That's a good point.
Right? But if I know how to protect my seller,
Yeah.
and I know subject to, I understand seller financing, I can call Carly and say, hey, can you help me out? Do you want this deal? Can you help these people solve this problem? It truly is a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, and I don't do deals that aren't win-win-win because I want the seller to win, I want the buyer to win, and then I win because they won, lastly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to just being an amazing, not forget agent, just person, right? We're people first. And I think that's why we're still here, right? And people approach you and look up to you because we're not cutting corners.
No.
We're not doing things that most people are doing, right? Like, we want to do it right. At night, go to bed and be like, I'm good.
Sleep good, we
right?
did the right thing. Yes.
And that says a lot about us just as humans, and just because a lot of people I know, even in real estate, like, you cut corners, right? Because you can. And so, again, I think that comes back full circle for us and just thriving businesses and people looking up to you. And we're so glad you're here because seller financing to me and just all of this, it's like, wait, what? But I'm open to hearing about it because, like Megan said, you don't know, it could benefit your buyer, your seller, and put everybody in a great position. So, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them, I'd say about half of my students are real estate agents.
I love that.
So, and I have mortgage brokers that are my students.
Love that.
So because they're knowing, like, things are changing. We need to be able to offer more things. You can't just do,
Yes.
everybody was riding high there for a long time, but it was artificially inflated, as we know. And, as much as we would love it to stay that way, we'll see what happens. But you need to be prepared for the other options of, okay, now what? Like, if a traditional sale won't work, you need to have other options.
Right. And again, we're in the business of helping people. That truly is my first. I have a deal right now that I'm probably going to break even on as an agent. But they're getting a nice house. At the end of the day, they're buying a house. My goal is that they'll refer me to their friends for people. And the main goal for me, and I genuinely mean this, at the end of my career, I want to create as many millionaires as possible. That truly is that's my goal. I want to help as many people as possible buy houses because I understand that there is so much wealth in real estate. And if we can help them get in, because the truth of the matter is, come 5 years from now, a lot of people are going to be knocked out of the market. They're not going to be able to afford to buy a house.
It's getting harder and harder, because the incomes just aren't keeping up with.
The home
What's
values.
Even here in North Carolina, which is crazy to me. I'm originally from California, so when I moved here, when I was looking at prices, I thought, $200, $300 for this beautiful home? We can't get even a condo in Southern California for that. But now I've seen just everything skyrocket.
Because all those people in California.
I know, sorry.
They're jacking their prices up.
I'm sorry.
These
it's
houses
true.
before that, they were like 150,000. Now
Yes.
they're 5. I'm
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
so I've watched it go, not
And
like
it's-
this, but like.
Oh yeah, and it's going to continue,
Oh,
and
it will for sure.
And I think about my kids, and when it's time for them to purchase a home. So I'm thinking now, like, what can I do to position myself and my kids to have a home, right? So maybe creative financing might be an
Creative
option.
financing, get a self-directed IRA, use that to invest.
Yeah, I mean, just what can you
Your
do?
kids can do it now. Doesn't matter how old they are. You just need, if they're under 18, just pay them.
There you go. So it just, what can we do to, because things it's getting expensive, and so, and I'm even thinking like some of our clients, like if their parents would have invested or got something small, and they just tell me that all the time, like we wish we would have bought a second home, an investment home, and been able to help.
Oh, back when you could get the beach houses for under $100,000.
Oh my
Just a
gosh.
couple years ago.
Yeah, literally.
Big beach houses.
Literally, yeah. So step 1 for people.
Mm-hmm.
Education. I tell people that all the time. They think, oh, you just want me to sign up for your class. I'm like, I don't care if you sign up for my class. Sign up for somebody. Either get help with somebody that knows what they're doing and partner with them, or get a course on something. You can't just jump into this. This is not beginner level, kindergarten level. You need to be educated. You need to know the laws. You need to know the laws per state. You need to know which documents you need, because I see people like, oh, I got to purchase a sales agreement. I'm like, what about the other 12 documents you need? Well, what do you mean? If you don't know, you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if I'm telling you need more documents and you're like, I got to purchase a sales agreement, I'm like, okay.
Great.
Next.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's the stack of papers that they, some of these are like pages long,
Yeah.
So education is the key.
I love that. Love that. And I'll say that step 2 is action.
Yes, I agree.
Step
into it.
Step into it. Have a mentor. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. Again, if I have a subject to deal, I'm calling Carly. Like I'm not just saying this because she's on this show. I'm telling you that I want people to be protected. I want people to do this correctly and be safe. And ever since I met Carly, the thing that I love most about her is that she genuinely does care. She cares about her students. She cares about her buyers. She cares about her sellers. Yes, she wants to make some money, but if she's not solving everyone's problem, she's not going to solve anyone's problem.
That's true. We will not do the deal.
Yeah,
There's plenty of times where we've talked about deals, and I'm like, it's not gonna go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wish I could help, but
yeah.
it's not. But
And I'd rather you be honest with me and say, hey, yeah, I'm so sorry we can't help, than to overpromise and underdeliver.
yeah, and I've gotten really good at that, and I'm sure people don't love that either. They're like, that's a deal. I'm like, it's not though.
Yeah.
Like you got to put all the pieces together and look at it as a whole, not just because like that's a great house and I could get it for blah blah. Like, what about the other pieces?
Yeah.
Because maybe you got this price, but you got to pay $500 extra a month that you're not going to get. You're going to be able to carry $500 a month negative cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are going to say no to that.
Yeah. Unless it's like a crazy tax write-off, it's not a deal.
Yeah, exactly. And very few people are in that position for the crazy tax write-off. I wish there was more, because that would be great.
Yeah.
But most people, that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So
So where can people take your classes?
you can go. My website is my last name, manninosmoney.com. You can find it on Facebook as well, and that leads the link to the class and all the information there.
Well, I am super glad you came through today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
This was fun.
absolutely. I hope that both agents and buyers, sellers, everyone, go look up Carly. Go follow her on social media. If you have a situation, don't be scared to reach out and just ask her. If you have a client who needs something that's not traditional, that this traditional sales isn't going to help this client, reach out to her. Reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with her if you happen to not know. But it really is important to be knowledgeable, to educate yourself on every aspect of real estate, whether you're an agent, buyer, or seller. So yeah, we really genuinely appreciate you having coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys on the next show.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.